What if I told you that everything you thought you knew about Remy Ma and Papoose's relationship was a complete lie? What if I told you that while Papoose was writing love letters and holding it down through prison bids and BET tributes, Fat Joe was allegedly doing way more than lean back behind the scenes? Because according to 50 Cent, the real father of Remy Ma's baby might not be the man she married, but the man who's been calling her sis for over a decade. Yeah, let that sink in. This isn't just hip-hop drama. This is a full-blown Maury episode wrapped in a rap beef. And guess who just played the role of the host? 50 Cent went live on Instagram and dropped a DNA bombshell so explosive it left Papoose screaming off camera while fans watched in stunned silence. You think you've seen betrayal? You haven't seen nothing until you've watched one of rap's most loyal husbands get blindsided in front of millions. So buckle up, because this isn't just a cheating scandal. It's a friendship ruined, a family shattered, and a secret so wild only 50 Cent could expose it like this. Let's get into it. Here's how it all exploded. What started as a casual, chaotic Instagram live session turned into a straight-up soap opera when 50 Cent, sipping his Branson cognac like nothing was wrong, stared dead into the camera and said the sentence that set hip-hop on fire. "I ain't the daddy, but Fat Joe is." No build-up, no warning, just that, and in the background, a visible figure pacing, yelling, and then throwing his phone. Yep, that was Papoose. And yep, it was Liv. The comment section instantly melted down. People were screen recording like mad, and Twitter went into cardiac arrest. But let's rewind for a second, because if you've been following the messy whispers circulating in backrooms and backstage dressing rooms, the Remy and Fat Joe friendship has always raised eyebrows. Brother and sister, they said. Terror Squad family, they insisted. But family doesn't get this comfortable. Not when your husband's not around. Not when there are late-night studio sessions and just us two tour stops. Not when the baby's timeline doesn't quite add up. According to one anonymous source who claims to have worked on Remy's wardrobe for a private event back in 2021, things were off even then. She kept looking over her shoulder, checking her phone, and whenever Joe walked in, her energy flipped. "I thought they were sneaking off to rehearse, but they weren't carrying any mix," the source said. That same night, rumor has it, Remy was spotted leaving the hotel through the back-loading dock, with Fat Joe following 10 minutes later. Paparazzi never caught it, but someone's iPhone did. That grainy footage has now re-emerged coincidentally right after 50 Cent's confession. And let's talk about 50, because this wasn't just petty shade. This was personal. You see, 50 has had a long-standing beef with Fat Joe dating back to the early 2000s when they clashed over industry deals, rap loyalty, and ego. They squashed it publicly, sure, but behind closed doors, that fire never died. So when 50 went live and said, "I ain't no liar, but I seen the test and it ain't me. And it damn sure ain't Papoose." Y'all do the math. That wasn't a rumor. That was a full-on assassination. One viewer described it as watching someone drop a nuke with a smirk. And where was Remy Ma in all of this? Nowhere. She wasn't online. She didn't post, didn't deny, didn't confirm, not a peep from her camp. And let's not act like this is coming out of nowhere, because fans have been speculating about Remy's baby's paternity since day one. The baby's complexion, the timeline of her pregnancy, the mysterious absence of Papoose during key events. It all suddenly fits a puzzle no one wanted to believe was real. But 50 Cent, oh, he believes. And he didn't just name-drop Fat Joe once. No, he doubled down. He said, "You ever wonder why Joe been so close? Why he always got her back more than her husband? It's because he had her back. Literally. Pause. Let that visual haunt you." By this point in the live stream, viewers could see Papoose visibly shaking. Not from anger, from betrayal, from shock. The man who's always stood 10 toes down for Remy, through jail, through lawsuits, through thick and thin, was now watching the entire internet question if he's raising another man's child. And not just any man, but his wife's longtime collaborator, his so-called industry brother. Some fans in the comment section even started tagging Maury, begging for a special hip-hop edition. Others begged 50 to stop, but he didn't, because in classic 50 style, he had receipts. At one point during the stream, he pulled out a folded envelope and waved it around like it was gold. "You know what this is?" he teased. "That right there is the truth. And the truth don't lie. But y'all keep protecting each other's secrets like it's 2005. Viewers begged him to open it. He didn't. He smirked, then said, "I already know. I'd already seen it. And Joe knows too." That's why he's been quiet all week. And guess what? That's not a lie. Because Fat Joe, who usually never misses a beat on Instagram, hadn't posted in 4 days. No gym videos, no Throwback Thursdays, no podcast clips, just silence, which in celebrity world is louder than words. Meanwhile, Papoose, once the calmest man in rap, snapped and leaked audio that surfaced an hour later. You can allegedly hear him yelling, "I gave you everything. Everything. And this is how you repay me." With him. Word is the audio came from a security guard's body mic at the back of a lounge in NYC where Remy and Papoose were supposed to be having a quiet dinner. Clearly, it was anything but. Fans are now digging up old photos, analyzing body language between Remy and Joe. People are circling timestamps, matching pregnancy timelines with tour schedules, even zooming into background shadows in Fat Joe's IG stories looking for Remy. It's full conspiracy mode. And if that wasn't enough, a fan account posted an old video clip from 2019 where Fat Joe was asked in a radio interview, "Would you ever mess with someone close to his girl?" And his answer? He laughed awkwardly and said, "That's a loaded question." "Oh, it sure is, Joe, and now it's about to explode." It began with a forgotten device, an iPad tucked away in a drawer, assumed to be harmless, just for music, or so Remy Ma claimed. But during an ordinary spring cleaning session, Papoose stumbled upon it. A moment of curiosity turned into a catastrophe. He tapped through the old files, expecting voice memos or instrumentals. Instead, he found a video file labeled simply, 7th floor, Miami. The timestamp read April 3, 2011. The location? Fontainebleau Hotel, Miami Beach. The footage, captured by a hallway security camera, shows Fat Joe, real name Joseph Cartagena, entering a hotel suite alone. Seconds later, Reminisce Mackey, better known to the world as Remy Ma, follows. No entourage, no stylists, just them. They didn't exit the room until morning. For most, this would be circumstantial, but for Papoose, it was a thread waiting to be pulled. Because that file wasn't the only one. Deeper in the iPad's memory, another video existed. Room 714, full. A clip that began 4 minutes after they entered the suite. It wasn't a kiss. It wasn't sex. It was something even more damning. "You know what this is?" Joe says. "It was never supposed to go this far," Remy responds. 8 words that would end a marriage, and possibly a brotherhood. To fully understand the weight of those words, we have to go back. Back to the early 2000s, when Remy Ma was the rising star of Terror Squad. She wasn't just talented, she was chosen. Handpicked by the late, great Big Pun. After Pun's tragic death in 2000, it was Fat Joe who stepped in. He didn't just offer her studio time, he gave her protection, exposure, and what many now believe was something much more personal. The hip-hop industry crafted a specific narrative around Remy and Joe. They were the platonic ride or dies. Brother and sister from the Bronx. It was a brand, a storyline. One that resonated with fans who admired their chemistry on and off the mic. But according to insiders, it was all a myth. Carefully curated to hide the truth. The first whispers began in 2002 at Summer Jam. A security guard working backstage said Joe never left Remy's side, not once. "I thought they were married," he later recalled. At the time, Remy was dating someone else, not Papoose yet, but the closeness between her and Joe raised eyebrows. By 2004, the release of Lean Back had pushed them to global stardom. But behind the scenes, the vibe had shifted. Late-night sessions turned intimate. A former audio engineer remembers them leaving the studio hand-in-hand more than once. They always brushed off questions, but people noticed. They just didn't speak. When Remy was arrested in 2007 and sentenced to 8 years behind bars, the hip-hop world witnessed what looked like one of the purest love stories in the genre. Papoose became the embodiment of loyalty. He visited her regularly. He spoke about her publicly. He defended her legacy. He even planned a prison wedding. To the fans, he was the blueprint of a real one. But what he didn't know was that he wasn't the only man visiting her. Leaked logs from Rikers Island confirmed that Fat Joe had signed in at least 5 times between 2008 and 2009, often under coded aliases. These visits weren't mentioned in interviews or podcasts. They were quiet, private, and, according to a former prison employee, intensely emotional. The staffer described Joe's demeanor as calm but intense. He never brought press, never posted about it, and always requested privacy. It felt like more than mentorship, the source said. There was energy in the room. At the time, Papoose believed he was the only one holding Remy down. And in many ways, he was. But when Remy gave a vague answer during a post-release interview, saying, "Some people surprised me with how much they cared," it planted a seed of doubt. Now, years later, that seed had bloomed into something devastating. Rather than explode in anger, Papoose did what he's always done. He stayed methodical. After watching the footage, he didn't confront Remy immediately. Instead, he started tracing the past. His first call was to a former stylist who worked with Remy during the peak of her career. She had left the crew in 2012 under murky terms, but now she was ready to talk. According to her, Joe's behavior toward Remy had always been obsessive. If she wasn't in the studio, the session didn't happen, she told him. She recounted a 2006 Puerto Rico trip where the group was supposed to travel back together. But Joe and Remy stayed behind. A private yak was involved. Rumors flew, but nobody dared question the boss. That wasn't all. Papoose began searching through old messages, burner phones, and email accounts. And what he found was chilling. A 2011 email addressed to one of Remy's known nicknames read, "Miami was different. We can't keep playing like this didn't happen. You know I'd do anything for you. Jay." The email was traced back to an IP address linked to a Terror Squad studio in the Bronx. By this point, the evidence was too much to ignore. It wasn't speculation. It was a pattern. So now the question wasn't if 50 Cent was telling the truth. It was how long has he known? Because let's be honest, 50 doesn't speak unless he's got ammo. And when he speaks, careers crumble, relationships rupture, and secrets start leaking like faulty pipes in a Brooklyn basement. And this time, the leak was radioactive. Because within hours of his IG live going viral, a supposed insider reached out to multiple gossip blogs with claims that Remy Ma and Fat Joe had been involved in a private understanding for years. Private understanding? Let's not sugarcoat it. They were allegedly hooking up. And the studio chemistry they always boasted about was more than just music. According to one blog source, a woman claiming to have been Fat Joe's former assistant, the two had a pattern. She wrote, "I used to book Joe's suites and send flowers under Remy's name even before Papoose came home. There were weekends where they'd disappear on fake business trips. That baby was no accident. Everyone close to them knew." Now we're not just talking betrayal. We're talking premeditated deception. Years of cover-ups, flights, hotel bookings, and secret rendezvous. All while Papoose played the loyal, clueless husband, defending Remy through everything. And remember that envelope 50 Cent waved around during the IG Live? Well, an anonymous post popped up on Reddit just hours later, allegedly from a lab technician in NYC who recognized the test format from the video. He claimed, "That's a standard paternity envelope." And yes, I've seen that exact one before. I can't confirm names, but what I can tell you is the initials on the sealed results matched two famous rappers. It ain't fake. We're talking HIPAA violating, NDA shattering chaos. And still, silence from Remy Ma. No denial, no legal threat, just nothing, which only made things worse. Because in today's culture, when you don't deny something this big, people start assuming it's true.